What if you could live in a place with literally zero conflict? I mean, a place where everyone was just happy all the time. Sounds like a fantasy, right? Well, today we're going to dig into a text that describes a real-world attempt to do exactly that. It's this experiment called the second home. And its founders claim they pulled it off by getting rid of three things most of us think are, essential: marriage, family, and private property.
Okay, so the author, a guy named Yu Feng, he does not mess around. He jumps right in and claims they built a community with, get this, zero unhappiness. Like nobody ever loses their temper, nobody feels unhappy, no one is ever dissatisfied. I mean, come on, that sounds less like a real place and more like something out of a storybook, right? So you have to ask, how could this possibly be real?
And that really is the central mystery here, isn't it? How on earth did this group supposedly achieve something that, philosophers and entire civilizations have dreamed about for centuries? Well, that's exactly what we're going to unpack. We're going to follow the author's own logic, step by step, to see how they built this so-called paradise.
So here's our game plan. We're basically going to follow the author's own roadmap. First up, we'll look at how he actually describes this perfect community. Then, we'll dig into these really radical ideals and truths that are supposedly the foundation of it all. But then, and this is where it gets interesting, there's a twist. A big warning that this whole paradise is actually super fragile. And finally, we'll see the incredibly strict rules they have to follow just to keep it from all collapsing.
All right, so let's jump into part one. This is kind of the sales pitch, What does this perfect community actually look and feel like? At least, according to the author. The group that created it is called Lifechanyuan, and this whole model they built is the second home. So the author really hangs a lot on this one specific event, a spring festival celebration back in 2010. He paints this picture of nearly 60 people just living together in absolute perfect harmony. But listen to the language he uses. It's not just, oh, it was a nice time. No, he calls it a great leap forward in the mode of human life. I mean, that is a massive claim to make based on what sounds like one really good holiday celebration.
So you gotta ask, right? How do you get from one successful festival to a great leap forward for all of humanity? Well, the author insists this was no accident. He says it was the direct result of a very specific, and I mean very radical blueprint. And that brings us to the foundation of their whole society, the 8 ideals.
Yep, that's the number. The author claims their entire success story is built on fully realizing 8 pretty revolutionary ideals.
And right out of the gate, the very first ideal is an absolute bombshell. Look at this. They didn't just tweak society, they took a wrecking ball to its main pillars. Marriage and family, gone. Private ownership, eliminated. And the result, according to them, is this fascinating paradox where every member owns nothing, yet possesses everything. That is a really, really big idea to try and get your head around.
And they are not shy at all about where they get their economic ideas from. The author quotes the classic communist ideal word for word, from each according to their ability to each according to their needs. And they insist that for them, this isn't just some dusty old slogan. It's how they actually live day in and day out.
But it's not just political theory. This is where it gets even more unique. The author weaves in spirituality, claiming they've actually fulfilled a prophecy from Jesus about a kingdom where people neither marry nor are given in marriage. So what you have is this really fascinating, kind of unexpected mashup of communist and Christian utopian ideals.
Okay, so we've seen the rules, the ideals that form the structure. But for the author, this isn't just about making a new kind of society. No, for him, it's proof of a deeper, higher philosophy. And that brings us to the next section, what he calls the 9 truths that he believes their community has definitively proven to be real. And the philosophical core here, wow. It is a truly radical rejection of the world most of us live in. Just look at this quote. To them, marriage and family aren't just, hard sometimes. They are a boundless sea of suffering. So in their worldview, leaving it all behind isn't just a lifestyle choice. It's an absolute requirement for your own salvation. So, okay, if you step out of that sea of suffering, then where are you supposed to go? Well, the answer they give is the path of the greatest creator. Now, the text doesn't get super specific on what that path looks like in practice, but it's presented as the one and only absolutely non-negotiable key to finding true happiness.
And once you accept that one core belief, everything else supposedly just clicks into place. They claim to have proven that if you can resolve the crisis in your own soul, then all your other problems, money, relationships, whatever, they just melt away. And the way to fix your soul?
live collectively and meticulously follow their 800 Concepts for New Era Humanity, which is basically a giant rulebook that, they claim, will get you everything you could ever want.
Okay, so at this point, everything sounds, well, perfect, right? You've got a utopian society, it's built on proven philosophical truths, everyone's happy. But this is the exact moment where the author's whole narrative takes a really sharp and, frankly, kind of worrying turn. It turns out there's a huge catch. This place is what he calls a fragile paradise.
And this really lays out the core contradiction perfectly. On the one hand, he calls it the Garden of Eden. But on the other hand, he admits it's extremely fragile. It's this incredible success that, in the author's own words, is unable to withstand great storms and could just disappear again. It's a paradise that he admits could shatter at any second. In this metaphor from the text, it really drives home the kind of psychological pressure cooker these people must be in. I mean, just imagine living your entire life as cautiously as when walking on a tightrope or treading on thin ice. Every single moment, every action you take carries the risk of bringing the whole thing crashing down. There is absolutely no room to just be human and make a mistake. So if your paradise is always one wrong step away from disappearing, what do? How do you possibly protect it? Well, the author provides a very, very specific set of instructions on how to survive. And this is what he calls the path to heaven.
And the solution isn't about learning or adapting. It's all about rigid, absolute adherence to a 3-step mandate. Number 1, persist in walking the path of the greatest creator, no matter what. Number 2, uphold all 800 of those concepts. And number 3, you must strictly, and that is the author's key word, strictly, follow the guide's roadmap. There is zero room for deviation.
And of course, here's the promise, right? This is the carrot at the end of the very long, very thin stick. The author assures everyone that if they just show total unwavering obedience to these rules, it will absolutely guarantee them a beautiful future and the realization of all their dreams. It's the ultimate reward for all that constant stress. So, there you have it, the second home experiment, at least as the author lays it out. It's this incredible vision of a perfect world. But it's a world built on a knife's edge. It's a paradise that demands constant, nerve-wracking vigilance from every single person, just to keep it from collapsing in on itself. And that leaves us with a really big question to think about. Even if you could build a perfect society, is it worth the price of constantly walking on eggshells?